we failed to get through the last turn because we're having this Democrats resist against the oligarchy here. Okay, now that sets us into a whole sequence that's kind of like, I'm trying to remember, refusing to bring your troops home with Rome, or refusing to relinquish your command and marching on Rome, essentially, in Republic of Rome, which is different from coups, which are handled over here. But I had to look over the rules because this is something we haven't been doing, and it's just this whole separate little subgame. You know, well, it's not, and it does have its point of reference for us. But anyway, what this is going to do is each player, starting with the Archon, who must be pro-government, gets to choose which side they're on. Now, I see very little advantage to the non-aristocratic factions to necessarily to supporting the government. So I think they are all, unless offered something fantastic, going to serve as part of the rebellion. And in fact, until we get up here, I don't think there's going to be much reason to be giving offers because, well, however, we've got this player who might be interested in being part of the government anyway, because he has an aristocrat in his faction. This player, who I think almost certainly is going to go pro-aristocrat, but because he's kind of in favor of the oligarchy, in fact, he's the guy who has the most to gain. This guy is kind of the balancing point of three players, may be of interest, but someone like him may be able to get some kind of bribe that makes it worthwhile. But this guy is definitely going to play it. And we're going to select numbers, which are the randomizers for how the armies work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since we have 6 players, we're good. We don't have to worry about any of the tie-breaking type functionality there. So the question is, who's going to win? Well, this becomes a war. The government has no money. That means it's not likely that the government's going to be able to build a big army and replace it. On the other hand, they do have some funds. They can maintain the army they have. They might be able to build an extra troop or whatever. And if we get by lucky here, we're not going to have too big a problem. But the government has to fight all wars, and this is one of those wars. On the bright side, they get a couple of cubes that'll support them. The government garrison 3 clear cubes, which will add to our strength. This is the Persian army supporting us. It may be that the only way that Athens can survive is by remaining in the oligarchy. That's one of the risks here. We have no income until we reverse these things. We've got real problems. And we can't reverse those except under the oligarchy. That's one of the arguments that's being put forth. Whew. Outside of that, I don't know. And the question is, what happens if we go bankrupt? Is that a failure? Yeah, we're kind of reading all failures in the game as everybody loses. Now, maybe that shouldn't be the case. However, it seems pretty certain that that's not good for any of the established people in major groups here. Although, how big a deal is it for the important farmers compared to the merchants, compared to the aristocrats? Yeah, I don't know. You know. So I think he's going to go with the rebellion. And I don't know, though. He has a way to improve things a little bit. Oh, geez, I don't know. Why would you repeal that law? Yeah, I'm really not sure. With all my popularity, I'm kind of in favor of this, but none of that counts if Athens falls. It just is banked victory points for me that, don't matter. Maybe, I don't know. So, gosh. And obviously, if I could make Athens fall, I would be in favor of that under the standard rules, right? The fall of Athens is my goal. I have the most popularity counters, or at least I'm in the running for them. I don't think nobody's doing as well. So, I am going to go pro-Democrat with him. He's a harder call. He kind of likes his position and sees the advantage to the archonship. However, he is going to also go pro-Democrat, pro-archon, has to be pro-Democrat, and I don't know how I'm going to mark these. I was going to use some little counters or something. I'll pull something out. Which puts us to the last player. Is there anything that the archons can offer him of any value whatsoever? I mean, they could give him cash. Is he a merchant? No. Yeah, I think, especially since he's not doing terribly well in terms of the victory points, unlike the first merchant here, I think he also will go pro-Democrat. So now for each army, and we'll start with the veteran army. On a 2, 3, 5, or 6, it joins the resistance. 4, that's going to remain with the government. And now I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more dice that I need to roll. And these don't matter. 2 go over. 1 is here. 2 with the government. 1 here. And we got 2 more dice. And it's not looking too good for the Democrats. A 4 and a 3. 3, 4, we split these. So we've got four army units. Okay. Not exactly what we'd hoped for. The government has to pay its maintenance. The Democrats do not. The garrison needs no maintenance. The Democrats are outside Athens. They take turns collecting income, bid for initiatives, which doesn't happen. They get to draft. However, on their turn, they have a slightly restricted amount of things that they can do. For example, they can't persuade. And then we will have a war, which is going to be based on the leader for the resistance. Now, who is the leader? That's a good question. Okay. The player of the card gets to choose a Democrat. Now, yeah, okay. To be the general, and he gets the leading statesman. Well, we're going to pick our best military, I believe. Which looks like it's Themistocles. So we will make him the leading statesman. He probably can't be an archon and a strategos at the same time, so I'll pull this out of him and throw that over here. And anything else exciting here? We rolled for the armies. That's it. Yeah. So now we go back to the standard order of play. which will be, we did not have to worry about government prosecutions because the 30 Tyrants was played. That negates that. Which means we get to do drafting, and we have to count victory points plus influence points. And, you know, those numbers change every time, so I got to refigure them. I had to do, somebody lost this wine trade. It's a vine income that was from the Persian War. As soon as that activates, it trashes some of the income. That's similar to a mechanism that happens in Republic of Rome. A little different, but. And now blue is got the lowest victory points plus influence, and we'll get the first pick. I noticed, hey, there's some nice money producers in here for farmers, so he might be interested in some of that. Card choices are different. There's a bunch of oligarchy cards, including mercenaries here. Now I'm assuming 50 and 1,000 are significantly different. The 1,000 is a one-use mercenary card. Seems really valuable. The other, but since it's only one use, it gets discarded at the end of the turn. The others cost you continuing money once you have them out there, but they can help you, you know, across multiple coups. These are apparently only available during coups. I don't have a number for a rule to look up for coups. I know there's a rule for it. It's right here. And I don't know quite how it works. Just being bigger is basically a +1. So this isn't significantly more important than some armed retainers. It's not proportionally bigger. The only cards our first choice player has that are available to him to even take, other than some democracy cards, or he could take this pottery income that's not directly valuable to him, are these. And I'm going to take the one that doesn't cost money over time, but is more effective for one coup, with that thought. And I'll push this up to remind me, and I'm just going to continue, you know, assigning these cards to the people as by order. To be kind of careful here, I notice Kaiman, hey, he's 1B. 1A has already disappeared from the game. I don't remember where I had him. I had him in my hand a moment ago, and now I lost him. These guys. Yeah. These are the dead here. But I'm getting confused because I've got like, okay, 14D, well, 4D, so that means there's probably a 4 somewhere else as a last digit. But wait, there's a 4 here. Is this the same family? Shit, I don't remember. I'm going to have to look up those family disposition rules. I really wish that there had been a better way to handle this than the way it's explained doesn't work well for me. And now I have to figure out which rule book it's in. I think it's in this one. Identifier not critical to remember. Great, then I don't remember it, right? Except the letter is the family of a tribe in which there's more than one. Third digit is the tribe number. I don't have a family number here. I've got generation, class, neither of which are of any importance and can be remembered by other information on the card. The third digit is the tribe number. Letter is the order of a family of that tribe, in a family of that tribe. So my guess is if there's no letter on a card, I don't have to worry about anyone else in that family. Statesmen of the same family share the same last 2 digits of an identifier, which I guess would be class and tribe. I'm not sure. But I don't think I have any repeats out there if there are no letters out there. So I don't have to worry about anyone except for the people with letters. If they have a letter on them, then I have to go hunt down, can I play this legally? He was allowed to play that because he didn't have it. This is important because this guy was picking one. Yeah, it was like, hey, if I'm picking a person, I want to make sure I get someone I can use. Well, this guy has a 9 as well. But that's just same tribe. If they don't have a letter, they're not the same family. So I guess there's like one family in each tribe that might have a conflict. The player who might end up winning this whole war, well, he's given a choice between a merchant, which he cannot take, and a fucking democracy card, which is useless, but he's allowed to take it. It might be useful. If he wins this war, it's useful. Chances don't look good for that, though. He's the only person at risk that I can tell from this. If the Democratic rebellion doesn't succeed, he will die, but no one else will. Yeah. Okay. And I think we're ready to move into the next turn based on that. Which I'll put this here, and I need a break. Yeah, I had a break, but I need more break. The truth is, the switches of governments and stuff, what's kind of exciting about these is they remind me a little bit of La Révolution Française. What's not exciting to me is tackling the thinking that's involved in them, which, 15 years ago, I had no problem with. Now, I'm having more and more trouble absorbing new things. I've been neglecting to do, which seems definitely worthwhile, is to sponsor events. Now, I had $5 on one of these guys. It's kind of weird because here they've got this one-step: redistribute funds, change faction leader, sponsor event, or purchase a discard. I think you only get to do one of those, so actually let me take this back. And I'll have swept that into there. Gotta be careful, actually. I've been doing all of those is the problem. You want to change your faction leader when your faction leader's about to die, probably. Simply because you won't have a faction leader if that happens. And there's an advantage to having when you get more income. And you want to make sure your faction leader is long-lasting so that he's not the person with the money. I did a redistribute funds, so I actually probably have my faction leader here, which means 06. It's all the way over here. Yeah, he's fine. So we'll do that. But I probably want to be buying events because they can give you victory points straight up, which seems quite valuable. Even more interesting, if that's taken as an or, place persuasion marker, persuade statesman, or attempt assassination, you have to give a turn's alert for for doing a persuasion attempt. That may be the difference. Now, that's different from here. I think, no. Yeah, which makes persuasion almost impossible. So you can either place a persuasion marker or you can try one of these other tasks. I think persuasion is just never going to happen. We had one happen, and I'll let that go, but I think it's almost impossible in this game, unlike in the Republic of Rome. Now, if you're holding an appropriate card, yeah, you might want to do it, but whew. If you're giving a warning, they can just suck all their money into that and say, yeah, you're not going to be able to do it even if you have a card. Of course, you might have more money that you can put into one of your statesmen. Time event, which killed off another character. Didn't generate any victory points, just someone gone who doesn't really mean much. He produces 1 income a turn. That's about it. Unlike in Republic of Rome, once you get to the oligarchy, these characters start becoming kind of unimportant if they're not aristocrats. Now, we're entering into the assembly phase, and one of the things also unlike Republic of Rome, the wars, this one came up, didn't meet the requirements, so it's not up there. It would have, I don't know what it would have done if we had 0 income. But I assume the revenue can't go below 0. But we've got a lot of wars that we could take on if we want. Every single one of these would piss off the Persians, except for Ionia, which we would already have to have a Persian victory at sea to be able to engage in. And so we're just stuck where we are. At this point, we have to assign our new government. Now, the way the government works here is there's only two people with votes, him and him. You can pay money for votes. Are you allowed to use your faction treasury? Because everybody's been sweeping their money out of their statesmen. Because it's at risk when it's on your statesman. It's not at risk when it's in your treasury. Of course, money may not be the most important thing. These popularity chips are more important. But, yeah. I don't know why he didn't do a game. I don't know. Mainly because it's hard to remember what I'm doing. So, for the oligarchy, the first thing we're going to do is we need the Archon, Basilius, and Polemarch and call for votes. Now, the problem we have here is he's got one more vote. He is going to be able to more or less get all three of them. The only question is, will he be able to get them if the voting's not done? If the voting comes down to this buck here, I think the current leader can actually hold on to the position. So let's see. And if it's the whole pool, he can almost certainly hold on to it. So let's see how voting money is used. We're in an oligarchy now, and I gotta find that one. Oh, shit. See, we're not in the 10 tribes. We're not in the Council of 500. We're in oligarchy, which has, maybe the rules are here. Instead, rules changes, offices, and eligibility, assembly, and voting. Only aristocrats can vote. This does not include their followers. Only aristocrats can play their cards. For these purposes, they have a card regardless of faction. It doesn't say where the money comes from, though. The money would come... I thought there was something that said you could use the money in an oligarchy vote, but I don't know where that would be. And now I have to find where the money for a vote can come from under all elect 4. No, this is not where it is. It's not here. It's somewhere. A player can buy additional votes on a 1-for-1 from the statesman and or faction treasury. So, I can say I'm going to pick my 3 guys, and I don't know which one's which, to hold all 3 positions, and shit, this is here, I guess. Oh, I have an extra buck on board anyway. So I can't give the Archon to who it was, in which case... and my other 2 positions are over here, the Polemarch and the Basilius. He's leading Strategos. None of these can be consecutive terms, but I believe they can be shifted around. So I can always use the same people, which is to say that he's eligible for one of the positions. I'm not positive. Under oligarchy, only Polemarch and Strategos prosecute wars. Under democracy, only these. No. They can't keep the same office they currently hold. Which means that I'm going to propose something like, I don't know, we'll give him oligarch, we'll give him Polemarch because he's a better leader, and we'll give him Basilius, and you vote first, and you got 6 votes, and you can spend money, but I get to top whatever money you spend. And if you fail, I can reshuffle these slightly. The only thing I can't do is assign Archon over there, but, you know, I got many different permutations. I can't refuse this, so then the values are going to come from this. So he gains an influence, he gains 2 influence, and he gains 3 influence. Nice, eh? If influence meant something, and it does for persuasion, 1, 2, 3. It would be really important, and it might be important enough, but we'll assign those. Unfortunately now, I have the strategos to give out, and there are only 3 people who can hold strategos position. Other business we want to take care of, for one thing, we want to repeal these laws because they suck. We've got the 10 tribes in place. We can't get rid of that, but we can get rid of 2 of these. This one kind of doesn't matter. I'm going to just get rid of this one. Doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Why is the war here? That war should be up there. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of this one because it can't have any more effect on play. It's done what it can. But these 2 I'm also going to vote away, and he's absolutely not opposed to this. So the repeal of each of these with a majority vote adds 80 talents to our income, and we've fixed the problem of Athens. Democracy's unsustainable, obviously. It'll get rid of all, it won't save money. An important lesson there, right? Okay. Now also, before we go on towards assigning our war and working towards that, we got more. We got more votes. We are going to propose that we build the first Parthenon. And again, he can throw money in to prevent this, but I see little reason to do that. So we have to look up the rules on this. It's going to pass 3 turns. What does 3 turns mean? It's the number of spaces ahead. Now, I think what it is 1, 2, 3, I guess here. Each turn, it's not going to be a hand of time thing, I don't believe. I believe the way this works is on each of these turns, we just pay the money and we start pushing it forward or something. Somewhere there's an explanation of this. It's not very good. Initiate project. The time is immediate. It's paid immediately out of reserves. Otherwise, find 2. Place one on the project, the other on a number of spaces ahead after the earliest marker equal to the listed number of turns. Yeah, I think this is actually here. As long as the marker is on the track, the project is complete. So I don't think it's actually turns. I think it's hand of time markers, but I'm not sure. That is not fucking clear. Yeah. So I guess when this is exposed, and I want to keep that there too, when this is exposed, when it's the next one available, we'll get that. But maybe, I don't know what happens if he dies, before that. But it does seem to be based on the hand of time, which is not necessarily time, paradoxically. We also get a pale blue popularity for passing this, which isn't a big deal. That's $5. However, I haven't been spending those $5, so it seems like a bigger deal right now. This seems like a huge deal. We've done that. Anything else we want to do? I don't think so. We could build troops, but building troops has more of a chance of giving them to the rebellion because you roll a die again when you build them. So we're going to engage the war. We're going to send everyone to the war who we can. Again, he's not particularly opposed to that. which means that Kaiman will be fighting the war again with his 5 military, and he'll have support of 3 other leaders. So that's 8 points added to what we have here: 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 points versus 4, 9. So we're going to be at like +8 for the war. I think we can close business. He could conceivably chime in to try to do something, but I don't know what there is to do. First of all, you need an Ecclesiastes card, and secondly, I can't think of anything there is to do. Unlike in Republic of Rome, the power here seems to be extreme because there's not so many players. You're not going to have to overcome as many votes held by other people, so you can maintain power in your faction probably for quite a long time, as long as you can bankroll the votes. And by going last, you can pretty much guarantee that. How much value is there to that? Well, maybe not much. There's some influence, but influence isn't that important, except towards persuading people, which doesn't look easy. Opportunities on these, though, is of value, and maybe it's worth a few bucks rather than spend it on building a statue. Try to maintain your government so that you get the advantages on those. Because whoever's around at the end of this, when it's actually completed, gets one of the purple ones. Okay. So, the next thing we do is, I guess we go to fight the war. And I said it was about +8. He could stratagem. That only works on Persians. Okay. I guess there we are. Let me make sure I'm doing this right, but I believe this is it. Yeah. Okay. +8's a lot. We get an 18. That's going to be a victory with no losses. I believe all of these are wiped out. We get another veteran. We have had a success. What does that mean? That's a good question. The first thing it means is our leading statesman is killed. So red gets 3 points of popularity for that. That's pretty nice for a single pop. Character number 15 is gone. Hey, look, some time passed. Yeah. His influence is gone, and these things go away. And we're not going to have a leading statesman again unless somehow democracy gets restored. So, what do we have? Well, is there any bonus for winning the war? I don't think there is. We can get rid of the government garrison. This doesn't matter anymore. End of war, all statesmen return, blah, blah, blah. Government victory. If the government wins, the leader dies and the oligarchy continues. So nobody gets any fame for putting down this revolt. And we will be in the new development phase, getting a new pile of cards. And that's pretty much all that happened. That the oligarchy's in place. Things have changed. The whole game basically changes. Now it's really a race to see who can throw the first successful coup, as far as I can tell. Which means we're not going to see the rest of the decks, because the oligarchy pretty much triggers that effect. There is the possibility of falling back on democracy if the aristocracy is just wiped out, which could happen through too many coups. But our first player here, hey, I'm not doing all that well. I've already got some troops. What I don't have is a good military leader. And so he has some choices. He could grab more troops. He has another one-shot set of troops, which would be stronger than most. He knows there's a couple of good troops. And he has Xanthippus. One or the other of these I probably want to take. Now, Do I have Militates or Themistocles? I do not. So I'm going to grab him. He's got an A. There's no 5 or 2-5B or anything like that around. So I'm just going to grab him and throw him into my pile. And I would like to get more troops, but I'd like to have that good military leader. You need a military leader of, I don't know, of at least a 3, and I don't have a 3. So that seemed like the best choice for me. And it's a farmer, so I'm allowed to take it because I am the farmer, or I am a farmer faction. The problem with the oligarchy and the coups is one thing and one thing only becomes important. Collection of those military cards, well, and possible leadership of one of them. Which means this guy, who's kind of playing, he grabbed a blackmail card, he could play well for the long game. But it's not going to happen. It's pretty damn clear. This is how I mark who has gotten, who drew their cards already. It's not at all likely that the game's going to last through another 2 decks, which is what it would require for his victory conditions, you know, for being able to build himself up and stow away victory points and everything like that to matter. And if that's not, the other option is, hey, if Athens falls, it would be worthwhile. But again, we've already dispensed with the if Athens falls possibility. Anybody who wants to go for a coup really has to build up a hand of military cards probably for it to succeed. Or maybe get the jump right now. You know, as it stands, he actually had, he could have drawn another card and that would have helped him. He had a position where he could have gone for the coup, but he's kind of playing for that long game, even though I think that's foolish. This is the point where you would declare the coup. Nobody's actually going to do it yet because he needs one more turn before he gets to go for it. And the Archon, who actually has cards to go for it, can't declare a coup. So as long as he's in charge of the government, he's not going to be able to do it. So that's where we're kind of going with that, which means we go to the next turn. And hey, look, Athens has income again. Yay! The ordering of the cards, it's very, very, you don't do what you do in Republic of Rome, which some extra cards sometimes get reshuffled into the deck. Instead, these cards get shuffled and put on top of the new deck. So we're going to see one of these cards coming out before anything else. So it's very hard to get cards into the really into the next deck. It's not terribly easy in Republic of Rome. Basically, there are certain things that get you to discard a card into the next deck, because the cards that come out in Republic of Rome all end up dispositioned somewhere else usually. There's nothing like this discard and reshuffle mechanism in there. This is kind of important actually, because these cards have numbers on them. The later decks do not, which means it would be obvious if you had a first deck card coming up. How horrible is that? I don't know. You know, it would definitely be a bit of an incongruity showing up to see the different back showing up. All right, so we've set ourselves up. One thing to note, like I said, this guy had placed his little white token over here on the Archon, which means he has a chance to bid on the Archon. Now, he happens to have a special card that gives him a shot at getting it. The Archon does not know this, but he may defend anyway, just to be sure that he's not going to lose it. The way things work here is that you have to do a persuasion attempt before you redistribute funds. Now, there is one question. Can you make a trade that gets money onto your main character? If you can, of course. If he's throwing a lot of cash here, a response can be made there. I think technically you can, and that's kind of a problematic thing for me if that's the case. So let's see how trades are worded here. Players can trade people cards held in hands, talents, and promises that do not violate the rules of play. What's not clear is where these talents can come from. You could limit it faction treasury to faction treasury, in which case there's no problem. But otherwise, I could work out a deal of, I will give you, 25 bucks out of here if you give 23 bucks to, one of my dudes, and you make $2, and now I'm set up for an attack. Of course, if I can do that, then other people can do the same to retaliate. So I'm not going to be playing that game, but so far I've been kind of loose in allowing people to redistribute their money at the trade phase. This could allow, due to a change of government, someone to place their cube and then get the first move or an earlier move on a player before they can redistribute their money, if you don't allow that kind of trading, that kind of redistribution of income through trade. Which I don't really mind if people are agreeing to it, but this guy's got something to sell. He could probably get a few bucks on his leader, and it's not like the money's already distributed here. If he had the money even set up and ready for the attack, he would still get a turn to move money in. So, like I said, it's almost impossible, I think, to actually persuade someone successfully in this version of the design, as you want to put it. I feel like a lot of things, there are rough edges to this game that really need a lot more polishing. It really wasn't ready to go into a publication stage, even though publication through Game Crafter is a little different than anything else. You've got more capability to say, hey, wait a minute, let me change what the rule book's going to look like. Let me change because I guess it's all print on demand or something. I'm not sure. I don't know how it's handled. I haven't looked into that, but I'm guessing there's a lot more flexibility, and what that means is there's less necessity to get things hammered out completely right. However, when you're trying to build up a name for your company or whatever, you really don't want to be releasing games that aren't really ready for prime time yet, I think. And now he has the option to change his he could change his faction leader. That might not be so wise, but he could redistribute funds on top of someone who might die soon. We had another hand, and we've got an active war in place that's going to require a fleet. Yay! Instead, I think what we're going to do is we too are going to play for the long game. We've got some military in hand, and think that the tyranny situation isn't so bad. So we're going to build a statue or something and get ourselves, yep, shouldn't be looking, some popularity. Now, of course, that's making this a good target, but nobody's over there, right? Nobody's got that shit in play. And there are no extra initiatives, so now we go to the next player. And honestly, this means this is going to fall, but I did drop my own token over here for possible retribution. Character number 19 just died as another Persian war comes up here. We're out of the deck. There's still an option to go fight that, I guess. Let me make sure, because we can undo this if I don't flip those popularities over. What is the effect if the Persians... Yeah, God. Remove all wars of the type whose defeat either Persian and save them to the side of Persian. Oh, God, I don't know. So it says, ignore any loss to the perilous war. Remove all wars of the type whose defeat enabled play of 30 tyrants. Now, I assumed that was from the board, but I'm not sure what happens and whether or not we can get those Persian wars back into play. Now, if there's a democratic victory, I don't know either. I thought the Persian wars come back. Yeah. This says
It just says, ignore any loss to the perilous war. Remove all wars of the type whose defeat enabled play of their 30 tyrants, either Persian or Spartan, and save them to the side. Is this war just out of the game? And if it's not, when can it come back into play? Which I thought I had seen an answer for, but again, it's kind of mixed up. We're in oligarchy now. I wish we had a cheat sheet for the phase or something like that. I'm really feeling like it's so hard to deal with the rule book on the government changes. Let me try parsing through it and see if I can come up with an answer to this, because it may be that this card just shouldn't even be there. I cannot find an answer. And there's nothing under when it reverts to democracy that comes back that I saw. And maybe there's something under the victory here that brings those wars back. So my feeling on this is, regardless of whether it's a democracy or not, if you do something that pisses the Persians back off, all these Persian cards would come back into play and Persian hostility would return. So I'm going to say that this is available to be attacked, thus starting the Persian War, and you know, they'd all be in play if that's there, I guess. I don't know, because it's kind of weird. Those things are just set aside. I thought there was a rule that said they came back, but I can't find it. And so that death is going to take place, which means we reveal all these popularities. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. No, we'll just add 10. And he's doing quite well. And then these all go back in the cup because they're available. And we get rid of the leader, which is good. So yeah, now I don't remember where I was. Like, I know that I just drew the card, but I'm not sure whose turn I was on. I think it's this new card. I think it's the second card of the turn, which puts us over to him. Cannot be, because whoever it was already played one of those. So maybe it's the third? Yeah, it's got to be 3. There's 3 new cards going. So we're over here. The other thing that happened, this has been exposed, so I think it comes off. The Parthenon's created. I don't think I actually have to deal with this in any sense of the word. All I have to do is give the current Archon a popularity chip, which could be a big deal. And then I'm going to get rid of this because it has no effect on play, so I don't want to just leave it up there. I'll put it in my discards. I'll sort those afterwards for possible replay value. But yeah, we didn't have to play through 3 turns or anything like that. The deaths came fast and furious. But the way, or one weird thing about the way this game works is if he's actually worried that he's going to lose this guy, he's not terribly, but he is likely to lose him. He might say something like, oh, hey, I'll give you some money if you try to assassinate him. Because if he dies while he's part of my faction, I get the popularity. But if he's captured, the other person gets it. Which, again, I don't know how that feels. I'm always iffy on these games where you're collecting up victory points for, like, past glory or something like that. It just seems odd. And in this case, and in Founding Fathers, you have this, well, wherever somebody dies, that's, or, retires or whatever, however you want to put it. But wherever they stop being part of the game anymore is where the victory points are generated for them, even though they've been generating victory points for a different, slightly different, ideological or factional basis than they are right now. That just leaves me in this kind of
I don't know. I do like the fact that you have these three classes. One of the things I never, that bothered me in Founding Fathers was the idea that you were playing sort of both sides. Ideologically, you could be playing Democrats and Republicans. That always struck me as a little weird. I'm not saying that Democrats and Republicans wouldn't sometimes support each other, might not actually provide more support than they did for their party at times to some other, to some well-loved member of another party. I'm not at all saying that those kind of factional changes don't happen. I think the class system here works very nicely in terms of representing the division, though, between, hey, you really shouldn't be part of this right from the beginning. It's harder to get somebody into a different faction. I think the last time I played, I put a penalty for going, basically there's the North-South divide, I think, and there's the Democrat-Republican divide, and basically you got penalties if you tried to, maybe this is built in, if you tried to persuade someone who wasn't of the right class. I don't remember what I tinkered with other than that, but I know I played around with some of the stuff to try to create more ideologically sound parties of players for whatever value that was. Things still aren't good. I have a total here of influence and oratory of 9. Plus 2 makes 11, 16. Well, he's got a 14 loyalty plus 1. I have no chance of taking it even with the card. I gotta move money before I have a shot at doing it. No. Which I'm gonna do, but there's so much telegraphing, so much time to watch this prepared, that there's just really, it's almost impossible to manage. Which means what? I don't know. I really don't know. He's the next dead, so I am going to actually move this over to the Polemark instead. Well, that makes him have to defend multiple leaders. So that's where this is coming to fruition, is we've got 2 people taking cracks at his stuff. So he can't just put all his money on one of them to defend it, which means they are vulnerable to the cards, potentially. We'll see how that money shifts. This guy has quite a bit of money on himself at this point, so he's got a shot. And if he moves his money, he'll also have a shot. So I do see some possibility of influence being used. What's kind of neat about that is it means that players have to combine to target something, and therefore you don't just see the powerful faction just start scooping everything up, which happens in Republic of Rome sometimes, is that one strong faction just will grab, they have so much income, they'll grab cards. Just as leaders come up, they will keep increasing their faction, their strength. And that increases their income, which means that they have more potential to attack other people, which is all very problematic. And this is probably an attempt to diffuse that at the cost of there not being a lot of persuasion going on, which means, that influence isn't all that important to tell the truth. The important thing is whether or not you have a card and you can prevent and you can attack someone in conjunction with someone else, so that they have to give up one of their lead, one of their statesmen. Yeah. Now that non-aristocrats are in Athens, strategos can be aligned anywhere, which is kind of interesting. This guy would like to make room for a strategos. So I believe what he's going to do is give up, because the Polemark gets to fight, he's going to give up the Basilius position to someone else.
he'll actually assign that over to demotion here in the hopes of getting the 2 votes from demotion. If he doesn't get those 2 votes, and I'm not sure why he would not want to give them to him, then he's going to have to spend money to pass laws, which is problematic. You know, you'd rather not have to have that situation happen. And we've decided to pursue not the Persian Wars. Hey, there's no reason, man. But rather to send, after this war, we have to go for. I built a bunch of fleets, some 6 fleets. Basically, I have his agreement because he's getting 2 of the strategos. And we're looking at sending Xanthippus here, which gives us 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 leadership. Plus whatever's here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have a 20. So we're at plus 10. That's pretty damn good. As long as we don't roll the disastrous standoff, I think we're okay. That gives us 18. That's a success. Now we divide 5 influence. There are 5 of us, so we each get an influence cube. Sorry about any speedy movement there. And I got a couple of 5s to put down to replace those. We also each get a double popularity. And ordering can matter on these, but it does not at this point. And this is red scoring some good points here. Shit. Couldn't feel the convex side. And here's the thing, you're not supposed to know even your own popularities. So not being able to detect the counters usually is somewhat problematic as opposed to old style. So we had a success, we defeated this. This doesn't really create anything except a huge debt in terms of we got to pay off those ships every turn. We also had to give him a lot of money, which I'm not sure I really like because he's trying to take one of my dudes, which isn't good, but you know. So he's got like 25 bucks sitting on his counter. The 25s are hard to read. I don't know if you can see it. My eyes can't in the light, but the camera seems to pick things up a little better than I do. I can see it on the screen on the camera, even though there's no magnification or anything. Okay, that was a victory, so there's no problem. And that means we're in the new development phase, so new cards are going to come out, and then we might just have a coup. And the cards have been laid down. This may well be the last video because I think there's going to be a coup. In fact, I know there is going to be one. One thing is, if you can keep yourself at the bottom of the victory points plus influence for a while, you can get a lot of troops. You can get the good ones. The other thing, though, is even if you can't get the best choices of troops necessarily, you can get these ones that cost a lot of money for a one-shot use. And those tend to be stronger ones because other people don't really want them if they're not going to go for it. You don't really have to be at the bottom. You just have to want the coup. And the guy who wants to do the coup, the only guy who really wants to do the coup, he feels like he's built up his hand for it. He's got his leader for it. He wants to do it. Which means we're going to go into the coup segment, which becomes like a little mini game played up here. These cards come off the board. They'll be going back up if the game continues, but we will be entering into the coup. You declare to set up your statesman as the tyrant by changing the government to attorney. He doesn't have the Archon, he has a troop card in his hand. So he will be able to do this. He clears the cards, puts one in the news 5, and he can put up to 2 more in any vacant corner boxes. Now the goal of this is, I think it's like the News 4 box, I don't know. Trying to see this, like, this abstract thing going on here. The coup has to occupy the News 4 box and not get attacked for 3 turns. Which means if the government's kind of staying away from the center of town, the coup can win it. Yeah. So, I get to set one up in the coup 5, and I can set up in the corners. It's not going to happen. I don't have enough cash. Let me see if anybody else wants to. I thought I had enough for at least one of these two. He doesn't have much money on him at all. He's holding two that cost him 40 and 20, and he does not have much money sitting on him. Yeah, I thought I had set some money for this attack actually, but I don't see it anywhere. This is his money. Let's see if anybody else wants to try a coup. He was the obvious choice. He's all built up for it troop-wise, but he does not have the cash to do it. If he had been grabbing the cheap troops, he might have been able to do it. Okay, someone else is going to do it, though. Let's see, where do I want this? This here? Yeah, sure. For movement, the one rule is you can only move into the News 4 from the News 5 box. So I think I'm going to place over here instead. So this is the coup. A big 300-point thieving mercenaries that cost me 12 bucks, and some city bodyguard. Now, starting with the player to the declarer's left, that would normally be the next player in line, so that comes down this way. I go to the right instead. These players can lay down their own troops with their own counters. Now, do I put anything on top of these? Place a coup troops marker or green cubes. Yeah. We use the green cubes on these to indicate that this is the coup. We could use something else. I can use these. I'd rather use these. They're more obviously not what's supposed to be there. And now what? Each person can place a single one at a time until no vacancies. Opportunity for more troops to show up later. This one was placed with the leader. He's got one leader, Kaiman here, who's he's got 2 leaders who are quality, but he can only use 1 leader Barker. Now, the declarer first gets to move. Being larger gives him a bonus, and the player figure gives him a bonus. I want to knock things out. I want to destroy things. That is one of my goals. So I'm going to move up here, not right into the News 4 box. And I'm going to make an attack, being larger, at +1. And I need a 4 through 6 to succeed. I succeed. I have killed this troop card. And I believe it just goes away. Let's make sure. Uh-oh. Place a clear cube on the target and make a die roll. Oh, no. Maybe killing is not what I want to do. But yeah. Yeah, I think actually I'm going to move here and defend myself. And I'll move here and make the attack. Okay, I missed instead. That city bodyguard is really just there to try to get some hits. Although by sitting in a corner it prevents troops from showing up. So that's the first player. Now, each other player gets to go. And that starts with red, who doesn't have anything. White, who does. White starts his move. He cannot attack here because it's only enterable from this box. And you can only move orthogonally. Yellow moves into play. We may not need more troops, so, you know, there's reasons not to put more on the board. This one, I'd like to kill this. I'm going to make an attack. As long as I'm making an attack, there's no time markers being put down or anything. I miss. Okay. Indicates that I'm actually actively fighting the battle. Now we come back around, we're on the second turn. It's on him. He does not want to come out. I want to cover this, even though it means I'm going to get attacked by all kinds of people. I do not want to cover this. I'll stay where I am and I'll launch an attack. And I'm just looking for 4 through 6 at this point. I get one. That puts a white cube for a hit on that, and that means what? I roll a die. If it's less than 2 times the number of clear cubes, the troops disintegrate. Discarding the card, not removing it. 2 times, well, 1. I do not get a 1. Okay. That means white gets to go. He keeps moving. And then yellow. He can't attack that. Purple. Purple will launch his attack. I'm going to use the black die for the to-hit roll and the green for the loss check. Just to speed things up, we get a hit, no loss. Okay. And we're back around. And still no time markers have occurred. Do we want to come out and hit things? Well, maybe. Trying to kill this is useful. So we're going to go for that. And we're at +1 because, see, the thing is the leader doesn't help on defense. So we got a hit. We did not destroy the card, but let's look at casualties. It has to be on a disintegration to kill the leader. Otherwise, he can go on another troop card. Okay. And my other one will attack the unit that it's been beating up on. No, you know what? I'll move down here and I'll attack this one. Because again, that's the more dangerous. I miss it, so no biggie. We don't take this into effect unless there's a hit. Which means we go to white. White can't move anywhere. I could attack that at +1, or I could try to disintegrate that. I want to kill the big guys. I do not hit. I would have been at even on them. I would have been at +1 on the other one. Oh well. Yellow. Yellow also will go after the big guys. He needs a 5 or 6 to hit. He gets a successful hit, but does not take them out. And now to pink. Pink will also come down and hit the big guys. He also gets a hit. And they're beginning to look weak. And still no time problem. I want to do this one first. Attacking the leader. I get a successful hit. I destroy the troop card. We have the potential of the leader dying. This is discarded. The leader death is on a 4 through 6. He is not dead, which means he's reserved. If he wants to play another troop card, he can on his next turn. I kind of have to keep fighting. I want to destroy some of their capability. I'm hoping they don't have many more cards left, because I don't. I get a successful hit and I destroy this one. Okay, that puts it to white. Does white have more troops? He does. He is going to come back on the board. Near the fighting. Okay. Yellow still exists. He will attack those big guys. He misses. Blue. Okay. Do I have more troops? No. Blue can't pay for his troops. Nobody can give him cash at this point. There's no troops here. Other people might have troops that they were not playing for one reason or another, but I don't think so. Which means we did have a legal attack though. So let's move this back up. Try to get a shot at that leader again. We do not. take a swing at the other die. Here's the thing. If we move back here, we're better defended. I'm going to move into here. That lets them get a free swing at me because as I'm withdrawing, but it makes it so only one unit at a time can come at me, and it's got a harder time hitting me. We come back to white. He's at +1 on the unit he's going after. He hits it, but does not kill it. And yellow will come down and attack the big guys. He needs a 6. He does not get that. Okay, we're back around to the next shot. We need to clear that out. And then we can decide after that what we're doing. We would be at +1. That's not good enough. The other one, we want to pick on the leader guy because he's more dangerous. We get a hit on him. Okay. And the white guy gets to go again. He can only attack this, so he'll stay where he is. Not good enough. The yellow guy, he'll go after the big guy, I guess. This is not looking good. That's a miss. The black die is the to-hit roll. So back around to red. Red again is going to try to clear out yellow. Gets another, or gets a hit on yellow. And the other one's going to try to kill the leader because, again, the leader's the dangerous one. No hits. Back to white. That's a hit, and it's enough to kill this. Okay. And I think we've got all the troops actually on the board that can get on the board. That was white's attack, yellow's attack. Needs a 6. He does not get it. Back around to red. And now if we just leave him here, he wins. So we can't just disengage from that key location. He gets a hit, but it's not a kill. White. Doesn't really matter. He has to move to one of those. Yellow will continue trying to kill. He kills it. The coup failed. And these are all still in the deck. It is players take back surviving troop cards, remove any clear cubes, and assign them to their statesman. They can discard them if they wish. I don't think anybody really wishes to. Troop cards are too valuable. So we'll figure out where these go to. They're going to pay their little money for them at the beginning of the next turn. On a 6, the declaring statesman dies. He does not. The declaring statesman was this guy. Now he's going to get shoved down 2 spaces on here in exile. I have to look up the exile rules. I'll come back and tell you what that all means. Exile is in the other book in the glossary section. First, his popularity is added to the score. Remember, that's not, yeah, there's no popularity. Okay, so no score. His offices, cubes, money, and counters, except for his time tracker, go to the supply. He loses everything? This is not an ostracization, so if the faction leader, the figure goes to the oldest remaining statesman. Well, there isn't one. These vote cards are, I believe, discarded. Vote and income cards are both discarded. His money is gone, which is a big deal because he had a big pile of cash there. And I think we're going to be getting another statesman. The statesman card is flipped over. Oh, come on. When he's not exiled. Oh, fuck. Yeah, okay. So I think all of this takes place except he's flipped over 2 light color unused identical time trackers. Place 1 tracker on the exiles card on top of his time tracker. Okay, I don't have light colored ones. So I'm going to find someone who does, like 21 here, and replace him with 19. Now this goes on top of his, and how many turns was it? 2 turns? Which I think we had decided means this. And if it's exposed, he comes up. I think that's how this works. When the exile's marker becomes earliest or tied for earliest, he immediately returns to Athens, rejoining his faction. Return the time trackers to the supply. Okay. However, there are rules for replacing a faction leader. I don't think you can exist without a faction leader in Athens. Remember, the faction leader marker got replaced to somewhere else. I think he's got to, A, play one of these. B, he gets to look through here and find one that is of his proper faction or class, which is merchant. And if that's not available, I don't know, I think he starts digging through the deck for one. To find one, his number's up there. Place those troops where they go, and I think we're ready to roll into the next turn, with the exception that I need to load this up and go to bed and all kind of stuff like that. By the way, I cranked my heat today, and you know, after a few hours, the whole place actually gets warm enough that it's livable temperature. The problem is, and I used to do this last year, basically I put all the heats possible on. If I do that all the time, it pretty much doubles my electric bill from, like, you know, yeah, it's my electric and water bill. It really triples the electric, I think. And, you know, it just goes up to an amount that is hard to justify if I'm not going to be gaming a lot up here or using the main area of the house much. And it's like, yeah, you know, I spend most of my time on the computer. My work day is entirely on the computer. I figured today is Sunday, and I really wanted to play some more. Yesterday I tried to do it. I'm in a bit of well, I'm in quite a bit of a depression right now, so it's pretty hard for me to mobilize for anything. But the house being cold definitely is a hindrance, and like the decision to turn the heat on is a hard one. You know, if I can't tell whether or not, like yesterday I had the heat on not quite this much. I didn't have it up here on all day. I had it just downstairs area, and yeah, it definitely does make a difference. Anyway, that was a pretty heavy cost to pay. There's no question of that. But he had a chance. He had a good chance of winning the whole game on that. And it doesn't look like he had much of a chance of winning the game through the oligarchy outside of a coup. Now, of course, if there's a tyranny deck added to the game at some point, that may change things. I feel like there probably is one somewhere, you know, but trying to get it to work in the victory conditions, which are already really, really shaky as to, you know, how the game's going to play out, with people trying to, the way they're written, this game would not have, Athens would not have survived, because there were definitely people sitting on popularity chits who are like, I got a better than 50-50 chance of winning the game here, and the capability to help prevent Athens from being able to, you know, succeed at the wars. Yeah.